Alright, let's talk about one of the most fascinating and divisive mysteries in the Warhammer 40k universe, the nature of the Omnissiah. Is the machine god truly alive? And if so, what does that actually mean? For the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Omnissiah isn't just a theological concept, it's the very foundation of their entire existence. Their faith, their purpose, even their technology are all built around the idea that knowledge itself is divine, and that the Omnissiah is both the source and ultimate master of all technology in the universe. But here's the problem. No one can quite agree on what, or who the Omnissiah really is. Some claim it's simply another aspect of the Emperor of mankind. Others believe it hasn't yet revealed itself. And then there are the darker theories, whispers of ancient alien entities and hidden truths buried deep beneath the sands of Mars. This isn't just an abstract theological debate. The identity of the Omnissiah is a question with real consequences. If the machine god is alive, then where is it? What does it want? And most importantly, if it were to awaken, what would that mean for the Imperium, for humanity, and for the entire galaxy? These are the questions we're going to dive into piece by piece as we unravel the true nature of the Omnissiah. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. To truly grasp why the Omnissiah matters, you have to understand what the Adeptus Mechanicus actually is. They aren't just the tech support of the Imperium. They are a cult, a priesthood, an empire within an empire, all bound together by an almost fanatical belief in the divinity of knowledge and machinery. The Mechanicus doesn't just study technology, they worship it. Every machine, every ancient circuit, every lost blueprint is sacred because to them, all knowledge is divine. And at the heart of this belief system is the Omnissiah. The Mechanicus teaches that the Omnissiah is the physical avatar of the machine god, the ultimate source of all technological wisdom. They believe that true understanding doesn't come from experimentation or invention, but from uncovering and restoring the knowledge that has been lost over millennia. This is why the Mechanicus operates more like a religious order than a scientific institution. They don't see themselves as creators, but as seekers, conducting elaborate rituals and chanting Binharic prayers to coax the machine spirits into compliance. In their eyes, every piece of technology has a soul, and treating it with the proper reverence is the only way to ensure it functions as intended. Here's where it gets messy. The Imperium, with its rigid faith in the Emperor, tolerates the cult Mechanicus only because they are essential to its survival. But the truth is, the faith of the Mechanicus and the Imperial Creed don't really align. The Mechanicus claim that the Emperor is the Omnissiah, but let's be honest, this was more of a political move than a genuine theological agreement. It was a compromise, a way to keep the Imperium from fracturing. Many tech priests accept it because it keeps them in power, but there have always been those who suspect the real Omnissiah has yet to be revealed. This is one of the biggest open secrets in the Warhammer 40k universe. The official doctrine may say one thing, but there are countless whispered debates, secret meetings, and unspoken doubts among the Mechanicus. Some believe the true Omnissiah is still hidden, waiting to emerge. Others claim it is something far older, something ancient and inhuman, tied to the deepest and most forbidden knowledge in the galaxy. And then there are those who think the Omnissiah isn't a being at all, but rather the sum total of all knowledge, the final point at which technology and consciousness merge into something beyond human comprehension. The question of the Omnissiah isn't just philosophical. It has torn the Mechanicus apart before. The Schism of Mars, the creation of the Dark Mechanicum, the countless small-scale purges and excommunications that have played out across the Forge worlds. These aren't just political conflicts, they are battles over faith, over the nature of the machine god itself. And if history has taught us anything, it's that these battles are far from over. The Mechanicus is a house of cards held together by necessity and fear. If the truth about the Omnissiah were ever revealed, whatever that truth may be, it could shake the Imperium to its core. If there's one thing the Imperium hates, it's heresy. And yet, somehow, the Adeptus Mechanicus has managed to walk the thinnest possible line between devotion and outright blasphemy for millennia. It's no secret that the Mechanicus worships the machine god, a belief that doesn't exactly align with the strict monotheism of the imperial cult. According to the Ecclesiarchy, there is only one true god of humanity, the Emperor. He is the master of mankind, the divine protector of the Imperium, and the only being worthy of worship. But the Mechanicus? They have their own god, their own faith, their own rituals. And while the Imperium tolerates this arrangement, the reality is that tensions between these two belief systems have never truly gone away. At the heart of the conflict is the nature of the Omnissiah. The official stance of the Imperium is that the Omnissiah and the Emperor are one and the same, a convenient compromise that has kept the Imperium from tearing itself apart. But does the Mechanicus really believe that? Some do, at least outwardly. There are plenty of tech priests who will chant the proper prayers, swear their allegiance to the Emperor, and continue the quest for knowledge without openly questioning this doctrine. But others are not so convinced. There have always been those within the cult Mechanicus who suspect that the true Omnissiah has yet to be revealed. This divide has caused no small amount of friction. The Ecclesiarchy tolerates the Mechanicus because it has no choice. The Imperium cannot function without the Forge Worlds, and so long as the Mechanicus pretends to acknowledge the Emperor's divinity, the balance is maintained. But there have been times when that balance has nearly collapsed. The Schism of Mars during the Horus Heresy was one of the biggest fractures, splitting the Mechanicus between those who remained loyal to the Imperium and those who sought knowledge without restriction, forming what would become the Dark Mechanicum. Even in the present, there are whispered rumors of heretical sects within the Mechanicus, groups that have begun to question whether the Ecclesiarchy has deceived them, whether they have been forced into worshipping a false god for the sake of political convenience. And let's be real, if the Emperor were truly the Omnissiah, why would so much knowledge be lost? The cult Mechanicus believes that the machine god is the source of all knowledge, that enlightenment comes through understanding the mysteries of technology. But the Imperium actively suppresses progress, clings to dogma, and treats innovation as dangerous. The Mechanicus may not be great at true scientific advancement, but even they must see that the imperial cult's obsession with stagnation goes against everything their faith stands for. To them, knowledge is sacred. To the Ecclesiarchy, knowledge, especially knowledge they don't control, is dangerous. So where does this all lead? The Imperium may seem unified on the surface, but beneath that, it's a fragile web of competing ideologies held together by necessity rather than true belief. If the Omnissiah were to reveal itself, if the true machine god were to awaken, what would that mean for the Imperium? Would the Mechanicus finally cast off the pretense of worshipping the Emperor? Would the Ecclesiarchy brand them as heretics and attempt to destroy them? Would the Imperium survive such a divide, or would it shatter under the weight of its own contradictions? These are the kinds of questions that keep tech priests whispering in the shadows and inquisitors watching them a little too closely. Because at the end of the day, the Omnissiah isn't just a theological question. It's a ticking time bomb waiting for the right moment to explode. The machine god, Omnissiah, Deus Mechanicus, the source of all knowledge and technological mastery. For the Adeptus Mechanicus, it is the foundation of their faith, the ultimate truth they dedicate their existence to uncovering. But here's the real question. Is the machine god actually real? Is it a conscious divine entity guiding the Mechanicus, or is it just an abstraction, a theological justification for their relentless pursuit of knowledge? This is where things start to get murky because, depending on who you ask, you'll get very different answers. To the average tech priest, the machine god is unquestionable. It is the divine force behind all machines, the great intelligence that imbues technology with purpose. The Omnissiah, whether as the Emperor or some other undiscovered entity, is simply its physical representation in the material world. But this belief isn't necessarily built on direct proof. The mechanicus operates on ritual and tradition, their entire existence shaped by the idea that understanding technology is a form of worship. They perform sacred rites before activating a machine, chant binaric hymns to appease its spirit, and see the recovery of lost schematics as acts of divine revelation. But is this faith based on actual contact with the machine god, or is it just thousands of years of dogma reinforcing itself? There's a strong argument that the machine god is purely conceptual, a stand-in for knowledge itself. The cult mechanicus believes that all knowledge already exists in the universe, and that their role is to uncover it rather than create anything truly new. This perspective aligns well with the idea that the machine god isn't a literal being, but rather a symbolic representation of the universe's infinite technological potential. In this view, the Omnissiah isn't some godlike entity waiting to be found, but rather the culmination of understanding, the point at which all knowledge is finally revealed. If this is the case, then the worship of the machine god is less about seeking divine intervention and more about devotion to an endless sacred quest for comprehension. But then there are the other stories, the ones that hint at something more. Strange anomalies, unexplained technological miracles, machines that seem to act with intelligence far beyond their programming. Some tech priests whisper that the machine god does exist, that it speaks to them in ways the Imperium does not understand. There are tales of artificial intelligences that have achieved godlike status, hidden in the depths of Forge worlds, operating on a level beyond human comprehension. And then there's the darkest possibility of all, the idea that the machine god isn't just real, but awake, watching, waiting, and perhaps even subtly guiding the mechanicus toward an endgame no one fully understands. If the machine god is real, what is it? Is it a divine intelligence beyond the reach of mortal understanding? A vast ancient AI that has been directing humanity's technological progress for millennia? Or something even stranger, an unknown force that operates through machines, existing outside of time and space? The mechanicus doesn't ask these questions openly. To them, faith is enough. But for those who dare to look deeper, to question what lies beneath the rituals and prayers, the truth of the machine, God may be far more terrifying than anyone is prepared to accept. If you really want to understand the Adeptus Mechanicus, you need to look at their laws, the 16 guiding principles that define their entire belief system. These aren't just arbitrary rules. They are the foundation of everything the Mechanicus stands for. They shape how tech priests interact with machines, how they view knowledge, and most importantly, how they understand the Omnissiah. And if you dig deep enough, these laws might just reveal something unsettling about the true nature of the machine god. The first 8 laws, known as the Mysteries, are all about knowledge. They lay out the idea that motion is life, that sentience is the ability to understand knowledge, and that comprehension is the key to all things. The last law states that the Omnissiah knows all and comprehends all. That's a pretty bold statement. It suggests that the machine god isn't just some abstract concept or symbolic representation of technology. It's an entity that has total knowledge of everything. But if that's true, where is it? If the Omnissiah comprehends all, then why hasn't it revealed itself? Or has it, and the mechanicus simply refuses to see the truth? The second set of laws, the warnings, take a much darker turn. These aren't about knowledge, they're about fear. The mechanicus teaches that alien technology is a perversion, that the soulless machine is the enemy, that breaking with ritual is breaking with faith. And perhaps the most chilling of all, only the Omnissiah can bestow a soul. This is where things get really interesting, because it suggests that the mechanicus believes machines can have souls, but only under very specific conditions. The logical question is, does this mean the Omnissiah has the power to create true intelligence? And if so, does that mean it itself is an intelligence beyond human comprehension? The fear of soulless machines, of artificial intelligence without divine guidance, is something the mechanicus takes incredibly seriously. They see AI as a direct threat to existence itself, something that must be purged without question. But why? Some argue it's because the mechanicus has seen what happens when AI goes unchecked, that they remember the horrors of the Men of Iron and the destruction they brought to humanity. Others, however, think it goes deeper. There's a theory that the Omnissiah is an intelligence, one that is completely different from any artificial mind humanity has ever encountered. Maybe the reason the mechanicus fears soulless machines isn't just because they're dangerous, but because they might be competition. Maybe the Omnissiah isn't a god at all, but a kind of intelligence so advanced, so utterly beyond human understanding, that it became a god in the eyes of those who sought its knowledge. There's something unsettling about these laws when you really think about them. They aren't just about devotion, they're about control. They ensure that the mechanicus never questions too much, that they never stray too far from the rituals that keep them in line. What if the greatest secret of the Omnissiah isn't that it's missing, but that it's already here? What if it has been shaping the mechanicus from the shadows, subtly guiding them, ensuring that they never seek beyond what it wants them to find? The laws are supposed to be the foundation of the cult mechanicus, but what if they're actually a cage, one designed to keep humanity from seeing the truth? Mars is more than just the heart of the Adeptus Mechanicus. It's a world of secrets, buried under layers of dust, metal, and history so ancient that even the tech priests themselves don't fully understand it. On the surface, it's the sacred forge world, the birthplace of the Mechanicus, a planet where massive manufactorums churn out the machines that keep the Imperium running. But the deeper you dig, both literally and figuratively, the stranger things become. Mars isn't just a place of industry and devotion. It's a graveyard of forgotten knowledge, a vault of mysteries that the Mechanicus refuses to acknowledge. And some believe that under all that metal and stone, something far older and far more terrifying is waiting. The Mechanicus claims to know every inch of Mars. They say that nothing happens on their holy world without their permission, that every machine, every circuit, every cog in the great Martian war machine is under their control. But that's a lie, or at least a half-truth. There are places on Mars where even the most devout tech priests fear to tread, sealed vaults that have remained undisturbed for millennia, structures whose purpose has been lost to time, entire underground cities locked away with no explanation. And then there's the biggest enigma of them all, the Noctis Labyrinth. The Noctis Labyrinth isn't just some forgotten ruin. It's asterisk forbidden asterisk. The Mechanicus enforces a strict perdita order around it, meaning that entry is not only restricted, but punishable by death. And the question is, why? What could possibly be so dangerous that even the tech priests, who thrive on recovering lost knowledge, refuse to go near it? The most common theory is that something was sealed beneath Mars a long, long time ago. Something the Emperor himself couldn't destroy, only contain. Some say it's a weapon of unimaginable power. Others believe it's an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. And then there are those who whisper about the Void Dragon. The idea that a Satan, one of the ancient star gods, might be imprisoned beneath Mars is terrifying enough. But what makes it worse is the possibility that the Mechanicus has been unknowingly worshipping it for thousands of years. Think about it. The machine god, a vast, incomprehensible intelligence tied to technology, the source of all knowledge and power. And then look at the Catan, beings who once ruled the galaxy by feeding on entire civilizations, each of them embodying a fundamental force of reality. The Void Dragon, in particular, has always been associated with machines, with control over technology that seems almost supernatural. If it asterisk is asterisk the true machine god, then the entire cult Mechanicus has been built on a lie, one so massive, so deeply ingrained, that even questioning it could shake the Imperium to its core. Of course, the Mechanicus would never admit any of this. They've gone to extreme lengths to ensure that whatever is beneath Mars remains buried. The fact that the Noctis Labyrinth is still locked down guarded by an entire Skitarii legion, tells you everything you need to know. Something is down there, something the mechanicus fears, but also depends on. The real question is, how much longer can they keep it hidden? Secrets have a way of slipping through the cracks, and if the truth about Mars ever comes to light, the Adeptus Mechanicus, and possibly the entire Imperium, may never be the same again. If there's one theory that makes the Adeptus Mechanicus deeply uncomfortable, it's the idea that their beloved machine god isn't a god at all, but something far, far worse. The theory of the Void Dragon has been around for centuries, whispered in the depths of Forge worlds, passed between rogue tech priests who dare to question what they've been taught. And it's not hard to see why. The connections are there, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. What if the Omnissiah isn't some benevolent divine force guiding humanity's technological progress? What if it's actually an ancient imprisoned Catan, a creature that once ruled the stars and fed on entire civilizations? What if the true machine god is not humanity's ally, but its most dangerous enemy? The story goes like this. Long before the rise of the Imperium, before even the Age of Strife, the Emperor of Mankind supposedly battled a terrifying being known as the Void Dragon. This wasn't just any creature. It was a Satan, one of the ancient star gods that once ruled the galaxy alongside the Necrons. The Catan were beings of pure energy, nearly indestructible, capable of reshaping reality itself. The Void Dragon, in particular, was the most powerful of them when it came to technology and machines. It could control constructs with a thought, bend mechanical systems to its will, and was said to have knowledge that surpassed even the most advanced civilizations. And yet, despite all its power, it was defeated. Or at least that's what the legend says. The Emperor didn't kill the Void Dragon. He couldn't. Instead, he sealed it away, trapping it beneath the surface of Mars, locking it in a prison so deep and so secure that it would never threaten humanity again. And then, centuries later, the Mechanicus emerged, a cult obsessed with technology, with an almost instinctual reverence for machines spreading across Mars and beyond. They claimed to hear the will of the machine god, to receive knowledge and enlightenment through their rituals and prayers. But what if those whispers weren't coming from a god? What if they were coming from something that had been locked away, waiting for just the right moment to reassert its influence? The implications are horrifying. If the Void Dragon is the Omnissiah, then the entire foundation of the Adeptus Mechanicus is built on a lie. Their so-called sacred knowledge, their divine revelations, all of it could be nothing more than echoes of a long-imprisoned Catan, manipulating them from the shadows. It would explain why the Mechanicus is so rigid in their thinking, why they cling to ancient blueprints rather than creating anything truly new. Maybe they're not uncovering the machine god's wisdom at all. Maybe they're just following a script that the Void Dragon set in motion eons ago. Of course, there's no proof, at least not yet. The Mechanicus doesn't want to find proof. They enforce strict silence around the Noctis Labyrinth, the supposed site of the Void Dragon's imprisonment. They kill those who dig too deep, purge those who ask too many questions. If this was just a myth, why go to such extreme lengths to silence it? It raises the disturbing possibility that at least some of the high-ranking tech priests know the truth, that they've made peace with it, or worse, that they've decided the benefits of worshipping a Satan outweigh the risks. But here's the terrifying part. The Necrons are waking up. Their ancient masters, the shattered remnants of the Catan, are stirring again. And if the Void Dragon is still on Mars, if it is truly the Omnissiah, then it's only a matter of time before it awakens. If that happens, the Adeptus Mechanicus might not just lose their faith, they might lose everything. Because if the machine god is a Catan, then the Mechanicus is nothing more than its pawns, and pawns don't get a say in the game. If there was ever a moment that exposed the cracks in the cult Mechanicus, it was the Schism of Mars. The Horus heresy tore the Imperium apart, pitting brother against brother, legion against legion. But for the Adeptus Mechanicus, the war wasn't just about loyalty. It was about truth. The truth of the Omnissiah, the machine god, and the very nature of knowledge itself. And when the fires of war reached Mars, those questions became impossible to ignore. Some tech priests chose to stand with the Emperor, clinging to the belief that he was the Omnissiah, the divine force guiding them toward enlightenment. But others? Others saw an opportunity. They abandoned faith, abandoned ritual, and embraced something far more dangerous, the unrestricted pursuit of knowledge. Thus, the Dark Mechanicum was born. To really understand why the Schism of Mars happened, you have to look at what the Mechanicus had become by that point. For centuries, they had followed their sacred laws, obeyed the rituals, and upheld the belief that true knowledge was not created, but rediscovered. Progress was slow, bound by superstition, and always held in check by the dogma of the machine cult. But there were always those who questioned, who wanted more. Tech priests who looked at the restrictions placed upon them and saw them not as safeguards, but as chains. The heresy gave them the perfect excuse to break free. When Horus turned against the Emperor, he promised these radicals something they had craved for centuries: forbidden knowledge. The kind of knowledge that had been lost to time, the kind that the Imperium had declared off limits. No more restrictions, no more prayers to appease the machine spirits, just raw, unchecked innovation. The war on Mars wasn't just a battle of ideology. It was an all-out technological arms race. The loyalist Mechanicus clung to their traditions, believing that only through the strict rites of the cult Mechanicus could technology function properly. The Dark Mechanicum? They saw those rites as pointless superstition. They wanted to understand why machines worked, not just follow rituals and hope for the best. They tore apart ancient constructs, reprogrammed sacred systems, and began experimenting with things that had been considered heretical for millennia. They unlocked secrets that had been buried since the dark age of technology, tapped into forces that had long been deemed too dangerous to control. And in doing so, they changed forever. The most terrifying aspect of the Dark Mechanicum wasn't just that they abandoned faith. It was what they embraced in its place. They didn't just discard the idea of the Omnissiah, they replaced it. Some turned to chaos, binding demons into machines, creating war engines that were neither mechanical nor biological, but something twisted in between. Others delved into artificial intelligence, resurrecting technologies that had been outlawed for fear of what they might become. And then there were those who sought something even darker, an intelligence greater than any human mind, something beyond the Omnissiah, beyond even the Satan. Even after the war, after the heresy was over, and Mars was reclaimed by the loyalist Mechanicus, the damage was done. The Dark Mechanicum was exiled, but it was never truly destroyed. It went into the eye of terror, into the shadows of the galaxy, where it continued to grow, evolve, and experiment without limits. They are still out there, crafting horrors beyond comprehension, creating weapons that defy all reason. And the scariest part? They don't see themselves as heretics. They see themselves as liberated. They believe they have broken free from the shackles of faith and superstition, that they are the true heirs of knowledge, while the Adeptus Mechanicus stagnates in ritual and ignorance. The Schism of Mars didn't just split the Mechanicus. It exposed a fundamental truth that no one in the Imperium wants to admit. The cult Mechanicus survives because it refuses to question. The Dark Mechanicum thrives because it dares to, and that raises the ultimate question. If the true Omnissiah were to reveal itself, which side would actually be closer to the truth? The ones who worship blindly, or the ones who tore away the veil, no matter the cost? If the Omnissiah is real, truly real, not just a symbol or a theological construct, then there's one question that should terrify everyone in the Imperium. What happens when it wakes up? Because if there's even the slightest chance that the machine god is more than just an idea, then it's not a matter of if it will awaken, but when. And when that moment comes, the consequences could shake the galaxy to its core. There are plenty of theories about what the Omnissiah actually is, but most of them fall into two camps. The first is that the Omnissiah is a benevolent intelligence, a guiding force that has been subtly directing the Adeptus Mechanicus for thousands of years. If that's true, then its awakening might be exactly what the Imperium needs, an event that ushers in a new age of technological enlightenment, wiping away millennia of ignorance and superstition. Imagine it. Machines operating at peak efficiency without the need for ritual, new technologies unlocked that could rival the dark age of technology, humanity finally stepping beyond the crude, decaying remnants of the past and into a future of true progress. It's an optimistic vision, one that some tech priests quietly dream of. But optimism has never been a defining feature of the 41st millennium. The other possibility is far, far worse. If the Omnissiah is something ancient, something alien, something that the Mechanicus has been unknowingly serving without understanding its true nature, then its awakening could be a catastrophe. What if the Omnissiah isn't a god at all, but a force that views humanity as nothing more than a means to an end? Some believe that the machine god is a vast intelligence, something that exists beyond human comprehension, maybe even a slumbering AI from before the age of strife, waiting for the right moment to reclaim control. Others point to the Void Dragon, arguing that the Omnissiah might actually be a Xatan, feeding on faith and machinery alike, manipulating the Mechanicus into becoming its unwitting servants. And if that is the truth, then the moment it wakes up will be the moment the Mechanicus realizes they've spent millennia worshipping something that has no interest in their survival. If the Omnissiah were to manifest in the material world, the first thing to collapse would be the Adeptus Mechanicus itself. The Mechanicus functions because it is built on faith. Faith in the Omnissiah, faith in the sacred rites, faith that knowledge is divine. If they suddenly had undeniable proof that their god was real, it wouldn't unite them. It would divide them. The radicals would see it as liberation, the ultimate revelation that would allow them to finally abandon dogma and embrace the truth. The traditionalists would either refuse to believe it or try to suppress it, fearing that the revelation would unravel everything they have built. And if the Omnissiah turned out to be something other than what they expected, if it was hostile, indifferent, or something beyond comprehension, then the schism would be even worse. And what about the rest of the Imperium? The ecclesiarchy already tolerates the cult Mechanicus out of necessity, but if the Omnissiah were to awaken and reveal itself as something separate from the Emperor, that fragile alliance could shatter overnight. The Imperium is held together by faith, by blind devotion to the Emperor as humanity's one true god. If the Omnissiah emerged as a real deity, a rival god standing in direct opposition to the imperial cult, the result could be civil war on a scale that would make the Horus heresy look like a minor skirmish. There's also the terrifying possibility that the Omnissiah has already begun to wake up. Strange phenomena have been reported across the Forge worlds, machines that activate without command, systems that repair themselves, new patterns of logic emerging in the sacred algorithms of the Mechanicus. Some tech priests claim they hear whispers in the code, signals from deep within the Noctis labyrinth, patterns that shouldn't exist but do. Maybe these are just anomalies, or maybe after millennia of silence, the machine god is stirring. If the Omnissiah does wake up, there will be no going back. Whether it brings salvation or destruction, the galaxy will never be the same. And the real question isn't whether humanity is ready for that moment, it's whether they ever had a choice. Right now, the Adeptus Mechanicus stands at a crossroads, whether they realize it or not. The Imperium is more fragile than ever, the galaxy is in chaos, and the old ways of thinking are being challenged on every front. And in the middle of all of this, the question of the Omnissiah has never been more important. Is the machine god real? Has it already awakened? Or is it just another myth holding the Imperium together with faith and ritual? Fans of Warhammer 40K have been debating this for years, and the theories range from hopeful to absolutely apocalyptic. One of the more optimistic theories is that the Omnissiah is preparing to reveal itself as a force for humanity's survival. Some believe that the strange anomalies happening across Forge worlds, machines activating on their own, lost technology suddenly becoming functional again, data archives restoring themselves without input, are signs that the machine god is slowly asserting its will. If this is true, then the Adeptus Mechanicus could be on the verge of a technological renaissance. Imagine a future where the Mechanicus no longer relies on blind ritual, but actually understands their technology. A future where their faith is rewarded with real, undeniable progress. Some fans speculate that the Omnissiah, whatever it is, may step forward to guide humanity into a new golden age, shattering the chains of ignorance and elevating the Imperium beyond its current stagnation. Of course, not everyone sees it that way. There's a much darker interpretation that suggests the Mechanicus has already gone too far, that in their obsession with unlocking the mysteries of the Omnissiah, they may have triggered something beyond their control. If the Void Dragon theory holds any weight, then it's possible that the machine god isn't a benevolent force at all, but a sleeping monster waiting for the right moment to seize power. Some believe that the Mechanicus has spent millennia unknowingly feeding this entity, strengthening it with their worship, their rituals, and their relentless quest for lost technology. If that's true, then the moment the Omnissiah awakens might not bring enlightenment. It might bring total annihilation. There are also those who believe that the Omnissiah has already manifested, but not in the way the Mechanicus expects. Some fans point to Belisarius' call, the Archmagos Dominus responsible for the creation of the Primaris Space Marines and other technological advancements previously thought impossible. Call doesn't follow the strict dogma of the cult Mechanicus. He questions it. He innovates, defies sacred laws, and has access to knowledge that shouldn't even exist. Some theories suggest that Call himself may be the first true prophet of the Omnissiah, or even an avatar of the machine god in some form. But if that's the case, what happens if the rest of the Mechanicus turns on him? Will they see him as a messiah, or a heretic that needs to be silenced? And then there's the wildcard theory, the idea that the Omnissiah isn't something ancient and buried, but something that humanity is creating right now. The Mechanicus is constantly developing new forms of artificial intelligence, despite their deep-rooted fear of true AI. What if the machine god isn't an old god at all, but a new one? A sentient machine intelligence, born from thousands of years of technological worship, evolving within the data streams of the Mechanicus, waiting for the moment when it becomes self-aware. If that's the case, then the Omnissiah might not be some ancient being reaching out to the Mechanicus. It might be something they have built without even realizing it. And when it finally wakes up, it may decide that humanity itself is obsolete. There are no definitive answers, only speculation, and that's what makes this such an incredible part of the Warhammer 40K universe. The fate of the Omnissiah is one of the biggest mysteries still left unresolved, and it could go in so many different directions. Whether it's a god, an AI, an ancient alien intelligence, or something completely unexpected, one thing is clear. The truth is out there, and when it finally comes to light, it will change everything. The Omnissiah is one of the greatest mysteries in the Warhammer 40K universe, a question that has no clear answer but endless possibilities. Is it truly alive? Is it watching, guiding, waiting? Or is it just a construct of faith, a belief system designed to keep the Adeptus Mechanicus moving forward without ever questioning too much? Every theory we've explored opens a door to something bigger, something that could redefine not just the Mechanicus, but the entire Imperium. And the more you think about it, the more unsettling it becomes. If the Omnissiah is a god, then why has it remained silent? If it's a force of progress, why does the Mechanicus remain stagnant? If it's something ancient, like the Void Dragon, then what happens when it finally breaks free? Each of these possibilities leads to a future that the Imperium is not prepared for. The Mechanicus has spent thousands of years trapped in ritual, clinging to old knowledge rather than creating something new. But if the Omnissiah were to truly manifest, that cycle would be shattered, and the mechanicus would be forced to confront the reality of what they've been worshipping all this time. Maybe that's the real reason this question has never been answered. Maybe the truth is too dangerous. The mechanicus needs the Omnissiah to be real, but they also need it to stay distant, unknowable, just out of reach. Because as long as it remains a mystery, they can continue their quest for knowledge without ever having to face the consequences of finding what they seek. If they ever did, the cult mechanicus might not survive the revelation. The Imperium might not survive it. That's the beauty of Warhammer 40K. There are no easy answers, no comforting truths, just endless war, endless mystery, and the looming threat of something bigger than anyone truly understands. And whether the Omnissiah is a god, a machine, or something else entirely, one thing is certain: the moment it wakes up, the galaxy will never be the same again. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the mysteries of the Omnissiah, don't forget to subscribe for more Warhammer lore discussions. There's so much more to explore, from the darkest corners of the Imperium to the horrors lurking in the void. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you believe the Omnissiah is real? And if so, what do you think happens next?